everyone, and welcome to this episode of the ASMG Back Pass podcast. We're in a new season and just completed week one of a competitive weekend, and we're preparing for another one here in the Premier Division of Georgia. But before I get started with some of the results from this past weekend, I wanted to briefly touch on some of the big changes in the Premier Division from last season, starting with alignment and expansion. And initially expanding to 16 teams from 14 from last season, but dividing it to two zones of 8 teams each, a zone 1 and a zone 2. Each team in these zones would play 10 games, and that'll include playing 2 of the teams twice. So at the end of the season, the top 4 teams from each division will qualify for the division playoffs, which is the mechanism used to determine who is going to be the representative in the national playoff picture at the end of the season. So that's where the competition is going this season. The bottom team in each zone will face relegation from the Premier to Division One for the spring season. So that's kind of where or how the new competition is structured. Now, if you look at the 2 different zones here, you'll notice that one of the zones has 7 teams, and that is zone 1. And in that zone, we were supposed to have Atlanta Fire. They won the regular season championship for Division 1 last season. They opted to not participate in the fall. They'll be returning, I believe, in the spring back to Division 1. Chattanooga FC 2 is going to take that spot in the spring in Premier. And they're going to be playing year-round for the UPSL Georgia Conference. And so that'll put us at 16 teams. There is some discussion about expanding further. We're able to do that now that we have the 2 zones, but that's going to be a discussion in the off-season. But for right now, we're planning on 16 teams for the spring season as well. So we'll go down here in Zone 1, look at Athletico Buford coming up from Division 1. They were made room for them because of the expansion to come in. They did lose the Division 1 playoff final to Scenic City, but again, through expansion and the realignment, they were allowed to also be promoted. So FC Columbus Elite returned, Georgia Athletic SC, Georgia Revolution, Georgia Impact come in, as well as a placement for a team, another team that dropped out, that being UMAFC. Kalonji per profile, of course, the regular season champions, Georgia Conference, and Pachuca, Georgia, returning to a nice young team that should be competing for honors this season. Now, in Zone 2, sort of a last-minute insert is Atlanta United Academy. They've requested to come back, and they are placed in the Premier Division, being a professional squad here. Also coming back is FC Birmingham, who ended up in the relegation zone last season, but much like North Georgia did the previous season, because of expansion and teams that have dropped out, they were offered to and took the spot to be in the Premier Division again this season. And we'll look and see how their first weekend resulted this past week in a moment. Dalton United FC, who finished and played in postseason last season, just knocked out in one of probably the most exciting games I've ever seen in the Premier Division against UMA FC, a game that went to extra time and then penalties to determine the winner. Quite the dramatic match, and we do have that on the ASMG YouTube channel if you want to take a look at that, as well as the extended highlights from that game. We also have LSA Norcross Pro. Now, this is the rebranded team Laminio, Georgia. So they are now known as LSA Norcross Pro. They have a team also in Division 1. And so they'll be competing, and we'll look at their result from this past weekend. North Georgia United returned. Potros FC, the playoff champions from last season, are in Zone 2. And Scenic City SC, the playoff winners from Division 1, earned their spot in the zone as well. And, of course, Soccer Saves Lives FC are back again. So that's the layout of the division. And now we get into some of the results from this past week. And we're going to start with the shocker. and that is going to be Atletico Buford. And again, this is a promoted team from Division One. Put 8 goals against Kalonji Pro Profile, and the argument for Kalonji Pro Profile could be that they didn't have a lot of their first line players, like Kareem Tamimi wasn't there, Grant Carr was not there, Kalen Kalonji was not on board. Neither was they didn't have a first line goalkeeper as well. But still, one would believe that they would have enough of experience anyway to get something a little bit better out of this game than they did. And they traveled to George Pierce Park there to play Atletico without substitutions. So they came there with 11 players, and they didn't have their first line coaching staff. They had an admin there. And I think that was a major factor in this result here. Atletico Buford, professionally run club. I mean, I know that they're coming from Division One, but I think they showed on the day that they deserve to be in Premier. And this, if you put 8 goals on anybody in Premier, it's something that I think the rest of the conference is going to notice. So, Atletico Buford actually fell behind in this game early on to Pro Profile, but equalized a couple of times before they really just ran it away. Kalonji did have their stand-in goalkeeper red carded for handling well outside the penalty area. And I think that inexperience might have shown there. They just were not together, Pro Profile. And so it'll be interesting to see how they try to rebound at the end of or next coming weekend, or this weekend, as we say. But it was an 8-3 decision there. And we have extended highlights from that match. It was a match that was broadcast live on ASMG. So take a look at that. I'm not sure you'll ever see a game against Pro Profile like that again, but anything is possible, I guess. So we'll get on to the second game. Georgia Athletic SC with an emphatic 5-0 win over FC Columbus Elite. Georgia Athletic made the playoffs for the first time in the Premier last season after narrowly missing the season before, and they seem to have built on that success with their opening day victory at home. And FC Columbus Elite struggled a bit in this game. They may have suffered a little bit from the same problems that Pro Profile had with the player availability, but Georgia Athletic had no such problems, and so they came away 5-0 victories. A great start to the season for Georgia Athletic. And the last game that we had in Zone 1 was a 0-0 draw between Georgia Impact and Pachuca, Georgia. Pachuca, again, one of the younger teams in the division, but well coached, have professional coaching. Georgia Impact, also a professionally run club. They had a stalemate here. A game I did not see but I only heard about the result and the way it was. So much like a chess match, when anytime you see a 0-0, you know that the two teams must have been evenly matched. So it'll be interesting to see how both of these teams will rebound coming out of this and try to get something a little bit more out of the games in the coming weekend. Now we go to Zone 2, and we have the playoff champions, Portoros, with 4 from Nazario and Mbamio, last season's Golden Boot winner. Both the team and the Golden Boot winner have picked up right where they left off with a 4-1 emphatic victory at home against North Georgia United. North Georgia's struggles continue, although one of their attacking stars, Ronald Maradiaga, did get on the score sheet, and they're going to need him and Emmanuel Lum again to really perform much like they did early in the season last season. But I think North Georgia is going to have to add a little bit more in the midfield to make sure that service is there and secure the defense. So they have a tall order to deal with in this fall season. But again, they did go up against the playoff champions. Portoros looks like they're in fine form to continue into the fall season to see about getting even more honors. So that game came out that way. And LSA Norcross Pro, formerly Lemonnier, Georgia, 5-1 emphatic victory over Soccer Saves Lives. SSL. They were playing at Meadow Creek again. That is their home field. And again, the usual suspects, Jamex Leon and Carlos Orta with a worldie later on. Of course, Xavier Diouf with a brace. Just a solid performance from LSA. And I got to believe that they're going to be one of the contenders for the title. That's how well they're playing. And again, it's really surprising when you look at it from the outside in. Possibly along with Pachuca, Georgia, one of the youngest teams in the Premier Division here in Georgia. But they're playing with they have a lot more experience, and just very, very skillful. And the coach Mochila Josu Galdamez has done a fantastic job there. Not only with the senior team in the Premier, but also with the Division I team and his youth academy. They also have a women's team. So a complete club there at LSA Norcross, getting a little bit more into the community with the new branding there in the Norcross area. So if you get a chance, get out there and check them out. They also have partnered with ASMG, so we'll be doing all of their home games this coming fall season. All right, we got two more to cover. Scenic City, actually one more to cover and one more to talk about. But Scenic City FC, Division I playoff winners, with a stoppage time equalizer against FC Birmingham. FC Birmingham grabbing that draw out of the jaws of victory, but with a decent performance from FC Birmingham, when you consider how they ended the season last season, with one of their players, Terrell Price, is somebody that's going to really be one to watch. He scored a brace here. Should have been enough, but a mistake in defense allows Scenic City to get a good draw for themselves in the dying moments of that match. So it's really worked out well for them on their first ever Premier Division game against FC Birmingham here. So a 2-2 draw means they share the spoils on the day, and a good catalyst for both teams to get into next week. And we'll get into those matchups here in just a moment. And so with that, with those results, we'll see how they match up in the league table here. In Zone 1, of course, Atletico with that fantastic victory over Kalonji Pro Profile go top of the table on goal difference here, above Georgia Athletic, both on 3 points. Pachuca, Georgia, and Georgia Impact share the spoils there with a point. And Georgia Revolution were not in action this past week. They had a bye, as one team in this division will have a bye each week because it's an uneven number thanks to Atlanta Fire dropping out. And so, of course, at the bottom, which is something you don't see very often, is Kalonji Per Profile and FC Columbus Elite are down there. So in Zone 2, LSA Norcross Pro topped the table on goal difference over Potros FC. Both winners on 3 points. FC Birmingham, Scenic City on a point. Atlanta United and Dalton United had their game postponed. And again, Atlanta United also has another postponement of the game coming up this weekend. So they're going to be 2 weeks in before, actually 3 weeks in before they actually play their first game. Dalton United is going to play their first game this coming weekend. And of course, losers North Georgia United and Soccer Saves Live round out the rest of the table there. So we'll get into the upcoming fixtures here. We have 3 games on tap for zone number 1. And FC Columbus will be hosting Georgia Revolution, who will play their first game of the season away to Columbus Elite down in Columbus, Georgia. Pachuca, Georgia will be hosting Atletico Buford at 4 p.m. on Sunday. And Kalonji Pro Profile will have their first home opener against Georgia Athletic SC, potentially one of the games of the week when you consider the results from the past weekend in Zone 1. Both Georgia Athletic, of course, with an emphatic win. Kalonji Pro Profile looking to rebound against one of the most devastating losses they've ever had. So it'll be interesting to see, which team shows up for Columbia Pro Profile, and they'll have their coaching there and their first line players there, but Georgia Athletic will as well. Should be a good toe-to-toe battle there between these two teams, and it'll be a game, of course, broadcast on ASMG TV on our YouTube channel. So check it out if you're able to. All right, and of course, we'll round out the podcast here with the two games that are going to be on tap for Zone 2. As I said before, that LSA and Atlanta United will not be playing this weekend. They were scheduled for this weekend. That has been postponed. It's going to be a midweek game rescheduled later on, and so look for that on the UPSL.com website for all the details there. But the two games that we do have on tap, one of them is on ASMG, which is Soccer Saves Lives hosting Dalton United FC. And we have Massimo Bellou, who is going to be the commentator for that game. And Soccer Saves Lives, of course, we're going to try to rebound back. They're going to have a challenging season, and Dalton United looking to kick things off for the first time in the season. Hopefully for them, they're getting a result. So it should be a lively and spirited game to witness. So check it out on our YouTube channel. And of course, rounding out the games on the weekend is FC Birmingham. They're going to be hosting Potros FC. Potros FC with a banging start to the season 4-1 win early on against North Georgia. FC Birmingham arguably should have had a win this past week against Scenic City, but of course, as I said before, gave up a stoppage time goal, and they had to drop points there. So I think they look at that more as 2 points dropped instead of a point gained. And so those are the fixtures for this week. And that'll be all that we have for you this week on the Hot Takes review of the first match week of the UPSL Georgia Premier Division. Keep an eye out on our social nets for the return of the Center Circle podcast. It's one we haven't done in a little while. That's a podcast I do with Larry Weaver. This season, we're going to have more special guests and interviews from time to time, including officials from the UPSL, coaches, players from the league. So it should be a fun time there. A little bit more in-depth coverage with the Center Circle podcast. Make sure that you're subscribed and click the notification bell because those are the things that really help us to continue to bring you this unique coverage, which we enjoy doing. So get ready for the action this weekend, and we'll have another episode next week to review all the action from all the games that are in the Georgia Premier Division. Thank you for listening in, and we'll see you next week.